E, proposed FY 2026 utilities operating budget and FY 2026-2035 Capital Improvement Program. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, today really kicks off your formal presentation of your FY26 budget. You see all the major milestones up here. I won't walk you through those in too much detail, but I think the theme of the day dictated that it was a good time to have utilities in front of you. We'll be back in here for your longer work session on the 12th. The highlights of that will be the superintendent will be here to present what is adopted by the school board tomorrow night, so they are set to have that in place by March 1. And then we roll into our community meetings throughout the bulk of the month of March. Your public hearing on the 26th of March, normal sequence, and then finally adoption on April the 9th. So we've had some monthly updates up to this point. Those have more sort of been just kind of, what's going on as we go through the process. But today, these are the actual formal components of the county administrator's proposed budget that you'll get over the course of the next 45 days. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Mr. Hayes and his staff.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Casey. Great to be with you again. It's my honor to present the Department of Utilities fiscal year 26 budget. Presenting with me today is Kathy Sobczak. She heads our Finance and Administration section. In today's budget presentation, we're going to be reviewing our proposed fiscal year 26 total operating budget, also reviewing our 10-year capital improvement program, as well as review 3 of our larger, more exciting capital improvement projects with you today. And then we're going to turn it over to Kathy, and she's going to go through the proposed fiscal year 26 rates to support our investment in operations and infrastructure to ensure our customers remain in reliable water and wastewater service. The fiscal year 26 operating budget sits at $105.1 million, which is an increase of $1 million from the current year. The pie chart on this slide shows you our 3 categories in our total operating budget, which include operating, personnel, and capital outlay. On the personnel budget, that currently sits at $34.1 million, which is a $1.2 million increase from the current year. We are requesting 1 additional position in the Department of Utilities. It's administrative secretary position in our water distribution section. The idea there with that administrative secretary would take some burden off of some of the supervisors so they can focus on their core functions of providing safe and reliable service, as well as meeting the growing customer base and new and ever-changing regulations. We also are mirroring the general fund as far as merit increases in this category. The largest component of our total operating budget is the operating at $66.6 million. This represents a $800,000 increase from the current budget. The main reason for that increase is increased chemical costs at both our water and wastewater facilities. The operating capital outlay is the smallest component of our total operating budget, but it is the component that fluctuates greatly from year to year based on the larger equipment and machinery that reaches the end of its useful life. On the slide, you can see some of the items we have budgeted. We're replacing 2 dump trucks, also a nutrient analyzer at our state certified laboratory, and the capital outlay budget actually decreased $1 million this year. So if you take the increases in operations and personnel, that equals a $2 million increase. If you look at the decrease of $1 million with the capital outlay, that nets a total increase in the total operating budget of $1 million, which is under 1% request for increase. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about our capital improvement program. And the capital improvement program is the largest component of the department's long-term fiscal activity. These infrastructure costs truly are what drive our rates. It's the pipes, the tanks, all the plants that really would drive utility rates. These are funded by revenues, use of reserves, and our revenue bonds. The current 10-year program covers $1.7 billion with a B projected investment in our infrastructure. About 46% of our total 10-year CIP is in the categories of pipes, pump stations, tanks, and the contractually required payments to the City of Richmond for the infrastructure that serves Chesterfield County. The remaining 54%, and this is what caught my eye on this slide, the remaining 54% will provide needed additional capacity at both our water supply and our wastewater treatment as our existing facilities near their permitted capacity. The Department of Utilities has established strong financial policies to ensure adequate funding to meet future infrastructure expansion, replacement, and maintenance needs. Mr. Holland made a comment on the last presentation about our bond rating. Mr. Holland, you'll be happy to know we checked as of this month. We're one of only 9 water and wastewater utilities in the nation, one of 9 utilities in the nation that are water and wastewater that have a AAA bond rating. So the group continues to get smaller, which makes us even more proud of that accomplishment. This year, I briefly wanted to take you some of our more exciting, larger projects that we have planned for the county. The first is the Appomattox River Water Project, which is our 4th water supply. We also wanted to touch a little bit on the Addison Evans Water Treatment Plant flood wall, as well as plans we have to expand the wastewater treatment capacity at our Proctors Creek wastewater treatment plant. First, we're going to touch on the Appomattox River Water Plant project. As you know, currently the county is extremely fortunate to get its drinking water from 3 sources. Those 3 sources are shown on this slide with the blue dots. In the north, we have the James River. In the middle of the county, we have the Swift Creek Reservoir. And to the south, we have Lake Chesden. As we continue to grow and expand our customer base, we must plan to meet our customers' future needs with new supplies. The Appomattox River Water Treatment Plant will be the Chesterfield's 4th safe and reliable water supply. Diversifying our water supplies provides redundancy, reduced pumping costs, and also improves reliability. On this slide, the 4th water supply is shown with the gold star. Something that is unique about this water supply is it's going to be located in the tidal portion of the Appomattox River, which will be extremely drought tolerant. That portion of the river rises and falls with the tide, regardless of rainfall. On this slide, we zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see where the project is, and you can see to the right side of the slide is our raw water pump station area, the property we purchased, and to the left in red is the water treatment plant site. They're connected by 2.5 miles of a raw water transmission line that we're going to install. The intake site is a 33-acre property located on the tidal Appomattox. It's just west of 295, where 295 crosses the bridge, and it's just east of historic Pointer Rocks Park. The treatment plant site is an 89-acre site, and it's located in Ashton Creek Industrial Park. That industrial park is already zoned I-2, which is appropriate for zoning for a water treatment plant. To give you an update to the board, we have obtained our Virginia Marine Resource Commission permit to construct a 40 million gallon per day intake in the tidal Appomattox River with screening facilities that are protective of both environment and the fisheries. We also have obtained our DEQ Virginia Water Protection Permit. Those permit are 15-year cycles. In the first 15-year cycle, we've been permitted to withdraw 29.8 million gallons a day. We have entered into a contract with Black & Veatch, which is a nationally recognized engineering firm for the design of the new treatment plant. These are some renderings of the conceptual footprint of the first phase of the water treatment plant, as well as the raw water pumping station. We anticipate it will take about, we just started on the design, but it'll take about 3 years to design the facility and about 5 years to construct the facility. The current schedule has the 4th water supply online producing water in the year 2033. And that's first phase of the project would be a 40 million gallon per day withdrawal from the river. The first sizing of the treatment plant would be 20 million gallons a day with a price tag of $426 million just for that first phase. Actually going to go back to this slide because I also understand that the board has received some questions on this supply, especially since it's located in the tidal portion of the river. And some of our customers have asked, are we concerned about salinity in this portion of the river? And just like our customers take water quality very seriously, so do we. As part of the permitting process for the Appomattox Water Treatment Plant, the Department of Utilities contracted with the Virginia Marine Institute of Science to conduct a very sophisticated fine-resolution particle tracking model that was completed in March 2022 as part of our application process for this plant. It included reviewing the current and future salinity concerns in this area. The report is available to anybody that wants it. The constituent that questioned it, I had forwarded the report to the board member so they could forward that to the constituent. The model simulates an extended drought for more than 1 month in the summer, which is a worst-case scenario. And in this worst-case scenario, salinity with and without the withdrawal was first observed well downstream from where we're planning our treatment plant. It was actually where the Chickahominy River confluences with the James. The model also concluded that our peak withdrawal had negative impact on the salinity for the entire James River. The amount of water we're pulling out is insignificant to the amount of water that's going down the river. In addition to the above study, our consultant has reviewed the historic raw water quality data from the existing Virginia American Water Treatment Plant that is currently downstream and has been operating for decades to ensure that we design the plant correctly to meet our needs. In addition, we are planning to perform a year-long water quality sampling effort to ensure that the design of our treatment systems meet the daily and seasonal changes of the water quality in the river, in this portion of the river. These models that we're doing are extremely sophisticated, and they're also not inexpensive. That VIM study we did, I think, was about $125,000. The year-long study we're going to do is going to have a price tag of around $5 million. So again, just like our customers, we take water quality very seriously, and we want to make sure that we design a proper plant to meet the raw water conditions. The next project I'd like to highlight is the Addison Evans Water Treatment Plant Flood Wall Project. As those of you know, Addison Evans was built some time ago in 1967, and it was actually constructed at the lowest point around the reservoir. It was actually constructed in a floodplain before the floodplain was even definition. It wasn't defined yet. And the plant has experienced flooding as early as 2 years after construction. And as this board knows, over the years, we've had some serious flooding at that facility. The facility is extremely important to the county and utilities. It is a 12 million gallon per day conventional treatment plant that supplies about 15% of the county's water or serves a population of about 50,000. So again, a very important component of our infrastructure. The flood wall will consist of constructing a 1,500-foot flood wall around the plant to protect the plant and the reservoir as a long-term water supply for Chesterfield County. The wall that we're constructing is actually 5 to 18 feet tall, depending on the topography of the land. But because the treatment plant is in the bottom of the bowl, the top elevation of the wall will only be 18 inches above the normal pool elevation of the reservoir. Therefore, we don't see any view shed issues. We also have designed the wall to be 2 foot higher than any historic flood at that facility. Design is currently complete, and we're awarding the contract. The contract has been awarded to Kokosing Industries, and construction is anticipated to take about 2 years. The cost of the project sits at $21.2 million, but we were fortunate that our staff were very aggressive in applying for every and all grants for this project, and we successfully achieved a grant for $8.7 million to help with the cost of this project. Mrs. Schneider, this is in your district. I think what we're going to do is we've had multiple community meetings about this, but since construction is going to start in April, about 2 months, when we have our hydrilla meeting this year, we're probably going to include this in the public presentation to make the public aware of this project. The last project we want to talk about is the Proctors Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant Expansion Project. The Proctors Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant opened up in 1975 and serves a significant portion of the county. Its current capacity is 27 million gallons a day. Again, as the county continues to grow and develop, we need to make sure that we have enough wastewater capacity in the county. The first phase of the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant at Proctors Creek will involve the construction of a flow equalization basin. The second phase will be expansion of the actual treatment trains at the facility to be able to physically treat more waste. And the ultimate goal on that second phase is to expand that facility from 27 million gallons a day to 54, doubling the capacity of that facility. This is a rendering of the flow equalization basin. The equalization basin basically acts as a shock absorber, At our wastewater treatment plants, flow doesn't come in on a constant basis. We have what we call diurnal flow patterns. When people use water in the morning, we get hit with higher flows. When they come home at night, we get hit with higher flows. That diurnal flow pattern creates issues from a treatment perspective, not only for the hydraulic loading, but also for the pollutant loading. What these basins do is they act like a shock absorber for the hydraulic loadings, shaving off that hydraulic peak. And they also act as a shock absorber for those pollutant loadings because the waste is mixed within those basins. So we can slowly feed that wastewater into the treatment process, and you get a more consistent waste. And when you do that, our operators are able to dial in the treatment process, and that saves on operational costs. The project also includes new core screens and improved grit removal, which will help protect downstream equipment. The initial available equalization basin will be 12 million gallons a day, and 6 million gallons a day is planned for expansion sometime in the future for a total of 18 million gallons a day. To give you an idea of the size of this facility, it's the size of a football field, 40 feet deep. So these are just huge facilities. The design is complete for this. We anticipate construction to take 4 years. We're going out to bid in April, and the construction of the basin, it has a price tag of about $150 million. Further expansion of the plant with new trains will start in the year 2032. With that, I'll turn it over to Kathy to go through the rates that are going to support these projects that we have planned.
Yeah, George spends and I collect. And so, as George said, you know, our capital project budget is about $1.7 billion over the next 10 years, and we contracted with rate modeling agency Stantec to review what our rates would need to be over the next period of time to pay for the things that we anticipate we need to do so that the citizens do have that steady, clean, safe water supplies. And so this is a slide that we show you pretty much every year. This is our average residential customer who uses 7 CCFs of water, which is roughly 5,250 gallons or so. This would be a 5% increase an increase in our rates based on the customer charge, the capacity charge, and also the volume or usage charge for our customers. You can see the breakdown between the water and the wastewater increases between the two different sources. The monthly bill would increase $2.76, which is at 4.24%. But I just want to point out, affordability has been a big topic in today's meeting. And so this is our first look at what affordability is when we're proposing the rates and we're working with our rate model, is that the CPI for the water industry in calendar year 24 went up 5.81%. So our proposal at 4.24% is our first gut check that says, yes, what we're proposing is reasonable for our customers, that we're not asking for large increases. And one of the reasons we do the rate study and periodically, and the purpose of the rate study, is to keep our rates steady so that we don't see huge up and down rate shock and unaffordability for some of our customers. And this is another slide that you're used to seeing as well. It's that same 7 CCF usage that shows our total bill would be $67.89 a month. And then it compares that same 7 CCFs of water usage to the peers in our region. And you can see this is our proposed increase rate of $67.89, comparing it to the existing 2025 rates of our peers in the region. Now we expect all of them to have a rate increase as well, which would just make our rate even more favorable to the people that are in the Central Virginia region. And that was our second gut check, is to compare ourselves to the people that are in the region. But we've added this third gut check. Is this water affordability study was done by the EPA and given to Congress. And water affordability is real. Yeah, as we've heard with the other two presentations today, there's really some populations in need. So the EPA affordability threshold equals to someone working 8 hours at a minimum wage. That would be an affordable water and sewer utility bill. Minimum wage in Virginia is $12.41. So if you look at the bill for the proposed budget that we have in front of you, it would be equal to someone working 5.5 hours a month to be able to pay their monthly utility bill. So this was our third gut check on affordability, is that we're well below this 8-hour recommendation by the EPA. When we work with Stantec on the rate model, we looked at what the monthly bill would be, but we also looked at what connection fees are. This is a standard slide that we show you every year that would show you what our 5/8 inch meter, which is our typical residential meter, connection cost would be compared to some of our peers throughout the state. And it's a 5% increase in both the wastewater and water connection fees, which would be a total of $11,996 for connection for what would be like a new home. That's an increase of $301 in the water connection fee and a increase of $270 for the wastewater connection fee. But this again, for this meter, if you compare us to to other localities that are our peers, this is where our connection rate would be. Again, this is our proposed 26 rate, comparing it to the other localities' existing 2020 fiscal year 25 rates. Again, we do expect our peers to also have rate increases. So this would again keep us very competitive with the people that are our peers throughout the state. This one's a little bit harder to read, but I wanted to share this with you too. The 5/8 inch meter is the one that we have a lot of, over 100,000 of our meters. I mean, it's by far the biggest meter type that we have out in our system. But just to kind of give you another indication is with the 1 inch meter and the 2 inch meter, our rates are the one on the left. That's our proposed rate for fiscal year 26, and it's comparing it to other localities that are our peers in the state, and to give you an idea where we are on a size other than just that 1 5/8 inch meter that we show you pretty much all the time. And we work with Stantec to look at what we are charging compared to the other localities, and then also based on our future expenditures, what rates do we need to be charging. So these are the rates for some of the larger meters. And where we're making a bigger change, and I need to spend a little bit more time explaining this is a bigger change for the 3 inch meters and above. These are our smallest population of meters, but what we found is that with the meter technology evolving over time, different types of meters let more water flow through them than other types of meters. So while our county code right now just goes on size, 3 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch, 8 inch, Stantec helped us understand that the actual physical diameter size of the meter isn't really the driving force of how much water that meter can pull. So one residential meter, the 5/8 inch meter, can pull at a maximum 20 gallons per minute. So we consider that one residential unit. So we compare all our other meters to that 5/8 inch meter that can pull the 20 gallons per minute rate of ERU. So if you look at this slide on the top example, it's a 3 inch meter. It's a compound, either a class 2 or fire meter. The max flow rate that we have in our American Water Works Association M22 guide tells us that kind of meter can draw 350 gallons per minute. If you divide that by the 20 gallons per minute that the meter at your home can do, the 5/8 inch meter, This 3-inch compound meter equals 17 and a half houses. It pulls 17 and a half more times than the one ERU at a home. So they can, and then you can see the other meters and the other sizes, and even the 4-inch meters, you can see one meter pulls 30 ERUs, one pulls 35, and one pulls 37 and a half. Even within just that one 4-inch meter size, you've got a 7.5 ERU difference on the same size meter. Our code right now only has one amount for a 4-inch meter. We're seeing that different types of meters can pull more water. And so we are proposing here that we right-size the ERUs for the connection fees and for their capacity charges based on the actual meter types and what they can draw from the system. So this is a paradigm shift for utilities. We pretty much have always gone just by the size of the meter. Now we're doing a size and type meter. And like I said, it's based on an American Water Works Association standard. So that's how we have come up with these ERU amounts. Then the next area where we've looked at our fees is this installing service lines. Typically, the developer installs the service lines. If it's like a one-off house and stuff, they'll ask us to do it. But, I mean, they totally can get another contractor to do it. It's not that we have to do it. But if they ask us to do it, we are going to increase our service line charges for like installing a 5/8-inch meter. The current charge is $2,800 and the proposed charge is $3,900. It's based on the actual cost of the labor, actual cost of the materials. And we hadn't increased it since July of 22. So this isn't a year-over-year increase. This has been an increase over based on several years. And then the other charge that we're proposing to increase on this slide is the meter installation. And again, a lot of it's driven by the actual cost of the meter itself. As you've been aware, we've switched to the AMI meters. They're more costly than the non-AMI meters. So labor and materials, again, is a driving cost in these installation increases that are proposed. And then you can see the larger meters also have increases. And I just wanted to bring your attention that the companion meter has been $800 for several years, and we're proposing, again, due to the materials and the labor, to increase the cost of a companion meter to $930 to install. This isn't really too much part of the budget, but I just heads up on your consent agenda item tonight. We're going to do some ordinance amendments. As we were installing the AMI meters, we found a lot of the meter boxes were obstructed. One actually had a cactus planted over it. So we're going to be asking for like a 1-foot access around their water meter. And then now that we've installed the AMI meters, we're electronically getting alerted when the meter's been tampered with, and we're starting to see a significant enough number of people tampering with our equipment that we want to implement tampering. But at public hearing, I just want to give you a heads up on it. Not really included in our revenues expenditures part of the budget, but this is something that is a concern for us. This would be the opportunity for them to pretty much pay us back for the equipment that they damaged. So we want the people who damage it to pay for it rather than everyone in the system to pay for any damages.
And only thing on your consent order on your consent tonight is to set the public hearing for March 12th. We'll have a public hearing March 12th to get more detail on this topic.
Yeah. And then the last set of fees that I want to talk to you about are strong waste surcharges. We basically have these 4 costs that we track what the actual cost is of treating these. These are charged basically to anybody who provides us with the water that contains any of these contaminants. And we're looking at a 10% increase in the BOD, a 10% increase in the fee for the total suspended solids. And at this time, we're not looking at any changes to the total nitrogen, total phosphorus rates. So, again, just trying to right-size it and make sure that we are covering the costs from the people that are actually using those services.
And these increases only apply, and charges only apply to our industrial customers.
And then, just want to remind you that we do have a public hearing scheduled for our utility rates on the March 26th. And then our budget would be included in the adoption of your April, in your April meeting. We want to, again, thank you so much for your support. What you have done for us is amazing, and, we really appreciate that you give us that attention to come to our staff meetings and encourage our staff, and that you recognize the people who think they're just doing their jobs, but in every other locality, they're going over and above, and, and to them, it's just like normal. And so it's great that you guys can recognize them for doing that over and above that they think is so normal. And so we're just really proud of our accomplishments. We're really looking forward to some of these projects that we showed you today. And we have some significant investments coming. So while, yes, we're coming forward and asking for rate increases, you saw the projects he gave. You saw the projects we're gonna. As we continue to grow, we're gonna run out of capacity. We need these. We need to be so far ahead of the curve because, as George pointed out, it's 3 years to design. 5 years to build. It's just like the whole school thing. You just got to be out. You got to be planning out in front of the curve, and so that's what we're trying to do. But we're also trying to bring that stable increases instead of wait until we want to build the plant and we say, we need a lot. So we're asking for the steady, stable increases to pay for the things that we've got on our 10-year plan. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We'd be more than happy to take any questions the boards may have.
Board members, any questions or comments?
And just a quick comment, because I just did some math, in that, a typical bill for our residents are $814, give or take some pennies. For Henrico, it'd be $1,068.
For a year?
For a year. For a year. So that's a difference of $253 per year. So when we're looking at whatever the rate is here or in Henrico and stuff like that, it's one of those situations where it might be less somewhere else, but you're paying for it somewhere else. So I think it's so important for folks to understand that, that if you have a typical, in Chesterfield, a typical is about $150 per penny per household on average. This is $250 plus per household. So I just want to kind of call that to folks' attention.
Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Mr. Chair, just curious, I noticed that and when you're looking at the connection fees, the connection fee for a meter is higher than the connection fee for sewer. What's the rationale behind that? When I look at some of the other jurisdictions, their connection fees for sewer are a lot higher than their meter connection fees. Why is ours different?
So I can't speak to other municipalities on how they derive their fees, but I can tell you one of the things that I was very happy with when I came to Chesterfield County is that we base all our fees on true cost. And so we run models that take a look at what infrastructure we've currently invested in, what we need to invest in, and then that sets the rates. So all of our projects, every single project is divided into either wastewater or water bucket. The funds are kept separate. And then within those buckets, there's expansion projects and non-expansion projects. You might even have one project that is a combination of both. If you're replacing an aged water line, for example, and it's currently 8-inch and it needs to be 16-inch, we actually calculate what percentage is non-expansion or just rehabbing the old line and how much is expansion. All those expansion costs get paid for with connection fees. And so when you have these large projects that you need to expand facilities like a $426 million first phase water treatment plant, the connection fees basically cover those costs. Another thing that we do that's a little different than other municipalities is that when we issue debt, and we have relatively low debt with an extremely low interest rate, when we do issue debt, we try to issue it to that expansion component, so it doesn't burden, our debt doesn't burden the existing customers, that the debt is paid for. We use that expansion money for expanding projects like the fourth water supply, so that future customers are paying the majority of that debt service for that future water supply. Other utilities I know sometimes don't have rate models, and they'll do across the board a certain percentage, 5%. If you look at when we propose rates, we have to show you every line because our rate models are telling us each of those lines are going up a different percent. And I know Mr. Holland always indicates that a few years ago he came to utilities and sat down and went through our books, and he went through those rate models and saw where all those rates were coming from. So I'm a nerdy engineer. I like these type of things. I love spreadsheets. So when I ask staff a question and they can drill down in that rate model and tell me where the cost came from, it gives me confidence that I can sit before the board and the public and let you know that we can stand behind the proposed rates.
So am I simplifying it too much when I say that in the future it's going to cost us more to generate water than it's going to cost us more to take care of the waste?
I would answer it depends. One of the challenges that we have is new and ever-changing regulations. Give you an example, Chesterfield County declared our county lead-free. We had not found any lead service lines in the entire county. You can imagine the impact of an older utility, say like the city of Richmond. This new regulation comes in and says in 10 years, all lead service lines have to be removed. We are extremely fortunate in Chesterfield County to have a newer system that we don't have to deal with that challenge. But to try to compare, say, the city of Richmond's rates on their replacing those, they have to replace all these service lines that are existing because it's an older city, compared to Chesterfield, it just puts us at an advantage. And that one example, just from a regulatory change, will change the scales on water and wastewater. Now you got to spend more on the water side of the house, even though customers may not realize that it was one new regulation that came out. One day you didn't have to do it, the next day you did. And these are multiple millions of dollars projects that have a true impact on rates.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, George, do you still use a rate stabilization model? Y'all still using that?
Yeah, so Mr. Holland indicated about our rate stabilization model. Another thing that when I came to Chesterfield County, I was very fortunate to come here. A lot of directors that were a lot smarter than me came up with our rate stabilization reserve model that is truly the envy of everybody in the region. Right now, to give you, there's a lot of parts of that rate stabilization model, but one thing we do, we have three components to our billing for our customers. We have a customer charge, a commodity charge, which is the volume charge, and a capacity charge. That capacity cost, for the most part, goes into a rate stabilization reserve that by our financial policies, that rate stabilization reserve can only be used for the replacement of aging infrastructure. The challenge that the United States has of aging infrastructure going beyond its useful life is significant. And directors well before me, that were a lot smarter than me, came up with this rate stabilization reserve that's based on depreciation of assets. Right now, since I've been director since 2015, we've been contributing 100% of our annual depreciation into this rate stabilization reserve that only can be used for the replacement of aging infrastructure. The other thing, another interesting thing on the rate stabilization model is that it also looks at the total accumulated depreciation of your assets, and you have to maintain at least 25% of your total accumulated depreciation in a reserve. If we dip into that reserve, I have to declare a financial emergency and come before the board to declare that a financial emergency. Those sound financial policies have set us up to be one of only 9 water and wastewater utilities in the entire nation that has a AAA bond rating, because of the foundation that was built well before me. I can't take credit for it, but I'm smart enough to see genius when I come and to keep on with the program. So we have been contributing 100% to our annual depreciation into that rate stabilization reserve, so that we don't have the aging infrastructure problem that a lot of utilities do have.
Thank you again for coming. I think it's really important for the citizens to understand when there is a rate change, what is behind that rate change, and to understand how that relates to the other jurisdictions in the area, and sharing how much we are putting back into our infrastructure and making sure that our aging infrastructure is replaced, where other jurisdictions may not have done that at all, or even use some of that money that they should have saved for that in other parts of their budget for something totally different. I'm thankful that we don't do that in Chesterfield County, and that's why we have water that's clean when other people don't. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.